Hello there, everyone. This is Andre of GVGIU. Thank you for lending me your time and your ear and listening to this video game idea that I feel like would fit the Wii U, which is obviously, if you're a fighting game fan, you know exactly what this series is, and that's the King of Fighters. Now, it's been a while since we've had another King of Fighters game, the last one being King of Fighters 13, which I think ended the Ash. I think it was the Ash story arc of the King of Fighters series, and that was actually a pretty amazing game. I really didn't care much for King of Fighters 12, but 13 was way better. Now, unfortunately, that game isn't really seeing the light of day right now, at least as far as I know, and Nintendo has an open space, literally, in their lineup for a dedicated fighting game. Now, people can say Smash is a fighting game. Personally, to me, it's not really a fighting game per se. Like, you could play it as if it was one, but it's not a dedicated fighting game because that's not its sole purpose to be a fighting game. It's more just like this fun mashup of characters that can fight each other, but it's not really a fighting game. It's more like a party battle type game. But that aside, King of Fighters series, like, it makes so much sense for Nintendo to pull what both Microsoft and Sony have done, and that is to get an exclusive fighting franchise, a dedicated fighting franchise for their hardware. And I don't understand why they didn't really push to get their own fighting series. I mean, granted, I understand that Nintendo doesn't really want to spend a whole lot of money on a bunch of different stuff, but King of Fighters is a great series. It's pretty much always has been a great series. And they could literally go to SNK and get them to give them, firstly, a full collection of the arcade or console King of Fighters games. I'd say console versions of the arcade games, like the perfect example. I think, no, I don't have it out. Unfortunately, I don't have my my King of Fighters collection for the not Sega Dreamcast, but the Sega Saturn is sitting here, which was King of Fighters 95, 96, and 97, which is the Orochi Saga. Orochi, whichever. I love those versions of those games. Those were like the best console versions of those games. To me, it just makes sense to get the whole game, the whole series from King of Fighters 94, the redone version of 94, all the way forward up to the last game, which was King of Fighters 13, as far as the home console versions for the Wii U. Now, for the they could also get the handheld versions all in one collection for the 3DS and have them modified to play on the 3DS using the buttons that the 3DS has, which would actually be a pretty good idea. Be a great collection to have. But Nintendo could literally just make an exclusive contract with the SNK for the King of Fighters series. They don't have to do it for every other franchise as far as fighting games for SNK, because they have a lot of them. But for the King of Fighters specifically, it would be a great idea to just get those games as like their fighting game for their system, for their consoles. It would make so much sense. Like, they don't really have a whole lot of fighting games, and it's like the Nintendo has a variety of games, but they are like lacking in certain genres, and I know they could really use a little bit of help in the fighting game area. I mean, otherwise they only really have Tekken Tag Tournament and Smash. And like I said, Smash really its purpose wasn't to be a fighting game. So that leaves you with Tekken Tag Tournament, which isn't bad. It's not a bad game, but actually I think that's the best version of that game. but still, like there's a need there that I know could be fulfilled. And I mean, I know a lot of people aren't SNK big time SNK fans like I am, but the King of Fighters, that's a great fit. Like, it's not really a series that we're seeing a whole lot of, and that story was really progressed forward a lot. And I would love to see a continuation. So, I mean, personally, I would happily, I would happily play those games all over again if they could get a collection and even get a continuation of the series. I mean, a collection would actually be kind of easy. They could probably fit everything on one disc. Too. That's what would really be the kicker there. They could probably fit all of it on one disc because of how small the older games are, and the newer games really, you've only really got two in this new style, so it shouldn't take up a whole lot of space. Those would probably be the biggest games, King of Fighters 12 and 13. But outside of that, it shouldn't really take up too much space on the disc. The other games are, even though they're like packed full of stuff you can do, they're minuscule in comparison because of, well, they weren't high def back then, and two, the sprites are actually a lot smaller in those games, and yeah, a lot of it would take up way less space. I do like the new HD sprites that they had the higher definition sprites. They actually look way better, and I wish that Capcom wouldn't have given up on the potential of using sprites, but whatever. But that's really all I have to say. It's a good fit. SNK's not really doing much with this series. I don't really think they can at the moment. I think they want to, but they really can't. And Nintendo has a need for fighters on the Wii U. So I say go for it. I would. I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to yawn. I was fighting it off, but yeah, I would definitely pick it up. I would pick up a collection and a new game in a heartbeat for King of Fighters. Like, you don't know. I'm like a serious fan of that series, and I've always enjoyed SNK's fighters, and they're always really well put together. So I could see it working out really well. But outside of that, that's it. Thank you very much for listening. Keep your eyes and ears out for more of my stuff, and until the next time, enjoy your games. Peace out.